The year is 2007. The White Stripes are in the UK promoting their upcoming album, Icky Thump. They appear on Later with Jools Holland, arguably the best live performance show ever made, in my opinion. Jack and Meg perform Icky Thump, Effect and Cause, but the standout performance of the evening is the last song they played. In an incredibly rare moment for the duo, they're joined by Jools himself for performance. On display that night was a tight, powerful band playing one of the catchiest songs in their catalog, shining a new light on the track and showing just how dynamic the band really was. That song is My Doorbell, and this is the hardest podcast to podcast.
I'd like to introduce to you a band that you know and love. Come to you like the sound of equipment being thrown from a moving van, the sound of dead cell phones and oil rigs, the sound of empty parking lots and school buses. They love to live and live to love. Ladies and gentlemen, Jesus Children of America, the White Stripes.
Hello, come on in. The water's great. I'm Ryan Schapp. I'm your host here on the hardest podcast to podcast. Great show last week with dear friend Josh Custodio covering Black Math. And I think we've got a really fun one this week with another good friend of mine, Hotel Mira's Mike Noble. We're slowly chipping away at seemingly getting that entire band on this show. The White Stripes were announced to be inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame over the weekend. That's their first year of eligibility too. They are essentially the Ken Griffey Jr. of 2000s garage rock. Depending on what you think of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's an absolute honor. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has their own questionable decision making. Sure, they kept Kiss out as long as possible, so they're doing some things right. But it's a curious process, and it's a specific amount of critics viewing music and art one certain way, and sure, it's not the be all end all. It is just it's a pyramid in Cleveland next to the lake that caught on fire once. Regardless of what you think, the acknowledgement is super cool. The fact that the band is getting that recognition is very special, and it's their first eligible year. It goes to show at least how their music was viewed in this circle, how critics responded to them, and just their popularity. So for that, I'm very stoked on it. It got me thinking immediately: will the White Stripes perform? If a band is all alive and well, for the most part, they come and perform, with the exception of Guns N' Roses or Van Halen, where seemingly nobody showed up except for Sammy Hagar. So I don't know if there will be a Jack White performance. He is playing a rather stripped down performance with a stripped down band. The approach is very White Stripey, so I think that would be cool. Would it be performances by other musicians? Shine a spotlight on them. I could see that. I'm not sure if Meg White would appear or perform. And I think for all White Stripes fans, we all in agreement we don't need her to. It would be cool, very cool, but it would be even cooler just to respect her choices and privacy. I think whatever they'll do, it will be very, very special. And honestly, if Jack White with his no-name era band right now did a White Stripes set and he played the Airline or played his old guitars with the Silvertone amps, like that's cool enough for me, because until they're on stage again, they are tucked away in a vault like Raiders of the Lost Ark, and we'll never see them again. So White Stripes are going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They're going in with Outkast and Warren Zevon, which kicks serious ass. And I think Cyndi Lauper and Soundgarden, Chubby Checker too. A real smorgasbord. One other thing I wanted to bring up this week. On the first episode covering I'm Lonely, But I Ain't That Lonely Yet, with Charlie Kerr, we were discussing the versions of the song, both studio and live performances, and we were discussing how it never featured drums. It didn't feature percussion in any way. It was just a solo Jack White and piano song. And that was all well and good in what I thought until Get Behind Me Satan 20, the Third Man Records 20th anniversary vault package of the album arrived at my door, and it touted a rearranged version of the song with drums and mandolin, and the write-up for the album talked about it kind of sounding like a celebration and with a completely different feel. And so I was very, very stoked to turn this on, and they were right. Like, it is a completely different song. The lyrics don't sound nearly as haunting. You know, your mind doesn't go to a darker depths to try to make sense of what Jack is singing. And as we say, there's never a knock to Meg on this show and never will be. But the version that made it on to the album, the version of I'm Lonely But I Ain't That Lonely Yet that appears on Get Behind Me Satan, that's the clear-cut winner. That's the version of that song that should be on that album. It's still very cool to hear a completely reworked version of a very stripped down and simple and emotionally charged song. We've received a handful of great emails from listeners and DMs, and that means the world to us. I'm incredibly excited to hear how excited our listeners are about how we're breaking down the songs, how we're discussing them, how we're celebrating them. So keep reaching out. I look forward to responding and chatting with all of you. And if you could, make sure you're following us on social media. You know how it works. It's Instagram, and it's Blue Sky, and it's TikTok too. Hardest Pod to Pod. And a lot of folk are rating and reviewing and following us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And you know the old podcasting song and dance, that doing that really helps us, really gets this show featured more prominently on these platforms. So we can't thank you enough for doing that. And finally, if you're feeling generous, you can buy me a coffee, air quotes coffee, at buymeacoffee.com/hardestpodtopod. Let's have a little progress report about how we're doing getting our main man Jack White on the show. Minimal progress at this time, but we're getting there. And we're getting there by growing the footprint of the show, by having new listeners, having engaged listeners, people reaching out, people sharing it with their friends, people sharing it with music lovers or White Stripes lovers. So just keep doing that. Help grow this footprint. I should say, I love receiving guesses about what the mystery songs could be. I received a handful of them last week, and all I will say is they were indeed guesses to the 3 mystery songs. And if you're new here, if you're coming in off the street, come on in, warm up, have a drink. The goal of this show is to celebrate the entire White Stripes catalog. That's every song that they released on albums, in singles, B-sides, and even a couple remixes. And these songs will be done at random, except for 3. Those are reserved for the old third man himself, Jack White. We're going to build up this show big enough, large enough, powerful enough, loud enough that he comes down and I ambush him with a secret song. He leaves, goes back into the night, comes back. I do another one and then another one. So the long-term goal of this show is to have Jack White on 3 different times. You'd think one was lofty enough, and I agree. But this week, we're not talking about a mystery song. We're talking about a fantastic White Stripes track off Get Behind Me, Satan. It is the 3rd track of the album. It was a single. It's My Doorbell. This is a simple and catchy and beautiful song. In the conversation, I quickly touched on how the original album version leaves so much room to work with. It is an incredibly catchy but simple song. It just provides this really beautiful framework for artists and performers to kind of add their own touch to it, intersplice what they feel could be in between the guitar and the drums and the vocals, and just adding a unique touch or a twist to a classic White Stripes song. Looking back to this era, the Get Behind Me Satan era, there are so many variations of this song. Jack and Meg got incredibly creative with, in particular, My Doorbell, but also the Denial Twist. Two similar songs in nature that seemingly became timeless and malleable instantly upon their release. We're talking about My Doorbell this week, and I think it's time that we all hit pause on this podcast. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere. Hop on over to your streaming platform of choice and hit play on My Doorbell. Maybe after that, go listen to it on vinyl. Maybe go listen to your single, whatever you got. But we're doing our best to make some noise with this show. So if each week with the song we're doing, there's a little bit of a bump or a spike in their listens for the song in particular, they're going to notice us, and that's what we're looking for. This podcast might get loud. So hit pause, go listen to My Doorbell. Now hit pause again, go to YouTube and type in My Doorbell with Jools Holland and watch that performance. Mike and I spend a little bit of time towards the end of the conversation marveling at it. It's one of the best White Stripes televised performances ever, and it really just put this song in a whole new perspective. I think it's time to head on into our conversation with Hotel Mira's Mike Noble. All right, our guest this week is a member of the incredible band Hotel Mira. Their tremendous new album, Pity Party, is available now, fresh off of a coast-to-coast American tour. He is my good friend, Mike Noble, a good anagram, Bike Melon on social media. Mike, thank you for joining us this week.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you adding the third coast into that opener descriptor because, saw a lot of coasts on this past tour.
A lot of coasts and a lot of unremarkable fields and truck stops too, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, I can tell you every gas station in North America at this point. I'm trying to fix my hair because I've been wearing a hat all day and it's like Karen-esque. It's like Karen haircut. So
it's very 2005 Scenester kid
well,
vibe.
Yeah,
so I think it fits.
I was gonna say, if you're listening to this on audio, you're missing out on some sweet hair vibes. So get on the video. Patreon.com/hardestpodcast.
The man knows how to plug. Mike, how are you feeling about your band coming off of one hell of a rigorous tour?
How do I feel about I feel great about my band. How do I feel about myself? That's a different question. I know, all jokes aside, I'm feeling good. I got some nice R&R in, and I'm honestly just going to be in hibernation for probably the next week until I emerge from my cave for presumably to watch WrestleMania with you, if I'm being honest.
The man doesn't lie. And that's probably when I will see you next. So we can get underwhelmed and
overwhelmed at some points too. I think it'll be a good show.
Well, we're gonna get overwhelmed today. So your band aside, we're here to talk about the band. That band being the White Stripes.
Yes.
What's your connection to the White Stripes? How are you exposed to the band? What stood out for them? What stood out to you about them?
Okay, so much like I assume most guests on this show will be, I grew up in the 2000s. Those were my formative years for music taste and just everything. It's like a cultural touchstone for me. I still think iPods with the scroll wheel. I see when I look at an iPhone, I'm like, oh, iPod Touch with calling capabilities. My brain still defaults to that, right? So the White Stripes kind of were a very, very pivotal part of those years for me, and especially I grew up playing indie rock. Our newest record, plug, Pity Party, is kind of like a love letter to that era of music. Like there's a lot of a lot of Block Party references, a lot of Interpol references, a lot of Strokes references. White Stripes are in there, just like riffy, like dirty riffs and stuff like that. I remember the first time, I don't remember the date, but I remember the first time I heard of the White Stripes, or like discovered who they were. And it was because I was watching Much Music, and the Fell in Love with a Girl video came on. And it was trashy or thrashy. It was Lego, which was cool. And it was like this short 2.5-minute song. And I just remember my like young, didn't know what taste was self. Like I was listening to like fucking Metallica at the time. And like just trying to be like the coolest kid in school by like
For
listening
sure.
to metal, you know. And I was like, what is this? And it didn't I wasn't immediately like, this band's incredible, you know, because I just like didn't know what I was talking about. I was a young kid, just a huge like idiot basically. But I was like, oh, that was interesting. And then I remember seeing the video for Dead Leaves on the Dirty Ground, and I was like, this is sick. And what actually locked me in was not, you know, ironically because of the podcast name, but I remember watching the video for Hardest Button to Button. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, how many drum kits do they own? Kind of thing.
That's how you know they've made it. They got
exactly.
They got Ludwigs to burn.
Yeah, 6 drum kits on the stairs. So yeah, like they were kind of like a result, like an interesting part of that time was how pivotal, like in the States MTV, but up in Canada it was Much Music. They were tastemakers in that sense, and like I would not know the White Stripes if that wasn't for them. And they like when I started playing guitar, Seven Nation Army was one of the first riffs I learned, like you know, tale as old as time, but it's true. And just kind of kept going from there, and they've been like just like one of my favorite bands since.
No, you know, if we're talking about being kids, you know, from the Valley, growing up on Much Music and the White Stripes, and learning how
You're
to play.
from the Valley. I'm from the other side of the bridge.
If we're talking about suburbia in Vancouver, growing up on Much Music and learning how to play guitar, and the White Stripes being, you know, present, that was you're speaking my language. You know, we're talking about Seven Nation Army. I had to buy a Digitech whammy just because that's what Jack White had, and I didn't know how to use it, and I just needed it so that I could go an octave up or an octave down, and it didn't benefit me in the least bit. But because he had it, I needed it, and it was just it was a time to learn about everything that Jack White did on guitar, and how he played and what he played, and cop it and bite it and try to, you know, have it on as my own.
So here's where. So I was gonna say, here's where here's what makes me laugh about our versions of that story, because you went out, you heard the song, and you're like, I'm gonna learn the solo, and I was like, I need to learn the bare minimum of it so I can play it to someone and be like, look, I'm playing Seven Nation Army.
I'll have you know, I needed an octave down so I could just do the damn riff, Mike.
or you could just play bass. I don't know.
Well,
it's your call.
You bring up a good point, and you know, I've known you for a while, and one of the things that you did to stand out to me and my White Stripes pilled mind is I saw photos of you on stage playing an airline bass.
Do you want to hear the story of that airline bass? It does involve Jack White.
But lay it on me, String Bean.
Not directly. It's not like he sent it to me story. But basically, I have a dear friend, Archer Leppert. He played bass in a band called Pigeon Park, and who are actually on a reunion. Like they're releasing their reunion EP. Which
I went to BCIT with their lead singer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and so basically, but Archer's like an incredible bass player and like a bass collector of sorts. And I went through, he basically, he like would customize, like order basses and customize them. So he got the airline, and he put like, he changed the pickups out so it's active pickups, which is why I actually don't play it as much anymore. Also, I have my own basses that I love. But it originally was Candy Apple Red, and he got it painted to yellow because he was tired of people calling him Jack White because he played that bass.
I really respect that move, and I have spent a lot of time in my formative years and in the in my 20s going, I could buy a guitar that I couldn't play anywhere at all and just have in my home that is Jack White's guitar, and I don't. One day I will, and it will not see the light of day because I've seen a guy around Vancouver. I saw some live indie band playing Red Airline, and the old guy in me was like, that's ripping him off. And I'm like, it was 20 years ago. Who cares? Like,
they sound sick though. Anyways, but yes, I do have an Airline. It's somewhere in here. I have my Springsteen telly next to me right now, so that's another one that I can't.
Well, we're gonna stop talking about guitars because the song we're talking. The song we're talking about this week, of course, is My Doorbell, the third track off of Get Behind Me, Satan, and easily one of the catchiest songs in the White Stripes catalog. Mike, what gravitated you to this song?
Good question. Okay, so let me tell you what gravitated me to this song. It kind of turns back around to my formative music years, basically. Yeah. And this is such a goofy way of putting it. But so for example, for me, growing up in this world of I think the now term for it is indie sleaze. No one called it that back then. But no. Garage punk and those really guitar driven bands and stuff like that. Experiencing My Doorbell and think it pre-Spotify, no social media, you kind of just the music you consume is the music that you hear. Go out, buy CDs. I'm absolutely aging myself, but that's fine. But basically, when I heard My Doorbell, and I was like, oh, the White Stripes, this band that I knew from just greasy guitar riffs and fast-paced punk-inspired tunes like Fell in Love with a Girl, or just the dirtiest guitar riffs and Dead Leaves in the Dirty Ground, etc., etc., etc. And I was like, they're playing a piano song, and I was like, I didn't know you were allowed to do this. They're a guitar band. What's happening here? And then I was just that combined with I can tell that we're gonna be friends and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, as a musician, you're allowed to have range, It's just at the time, it's if you played a piano, you were either Coldplay or Keane. You weren't Under the Iron Sea is still an underrated record, but that's a whole other conversation. But you know what I mean, right? And and in 2005, I believe, by me in My Doorbell. So I'm not gonna say how old I was then, but it was at a time where it kind of blew my mind. Yeah, I was just oh, this band that's so known for just iconic guitar riffs, and Jack White's an iconic guitar player, and he's just let's just release a fucking keyboard piano jam, and it's so good, and that's kind of why it stood out to me and why it always really stuck with me.
You say piano keyboard jam, but Get Behind Me, Satan is essentially a piano album.
Well, that too, yes.
We were talking
lead single.
Yeah, well. Only three songs on the record have electric guitar on it, but my mind would be blown too because you knew what the White Stripes sounded like going up to this point: loud guitars, catchy hooks, bellowing, high pitched Jack White vocals, and just thunderous. And then this, just the first Blue Orchid comes out, and you go,
we're back.
17-year-old me is yeah, this is what I like. It's fast. Yeah. It's loud. He's got an electro harmonics pog. This is what the whole album is going to sound like. And I sign me up because that's what I like. That's the only thing I like, and then you get this shock to the system when you realize that's the only thing that sounds like it. But you get this shock, your mind is blown because the first single is Blue Orchid. And then My Doorbell comes out and you're like, what? It not only does it doesn't sound like the White Stripes, it just sounds like some vintage piece of music from,
Mhm.
eras ago. But it's, I would say that's My Doorbell is one of the first timeless songs that the White Stripes released. Like it,
That's a good way of putting it, and I agree, because it's just like there's a lot of songs that like there's nothing cooler than hearing a song and then being like, this could have been written anytime from like 55 to present day, uh, which is an absolutely great feeling. Whereas I think the previous White Stripes songs, and admittedly, I will say, despite My Doorbell being the pick for this, I do gravitate towards the more rockier
sure.
side of the White Stripes, because as a general blanket rule at large, I like it. I like bands more when they rock than when they don't rock. Um, it's a general rule of thumb, and it usually works. Like it's just like, if someone's like, "Oh, what's your favorite?" I don't know. I mean, Coldplay's a bad example because they suck at rocking, but like usually it's like the faster upbeat ones. I'm not really into the air quotes ballads. To see me do the air quotes, patreon.com/. Anyways, sorry, I can't help myself sometimes. But um, but the groove on My Doorbell, and just kind of like the catchy, like the vocal melody is unbelievable. Like from start to finish, it's so catchy. Just Jack White rushing in with that huge falsetto, or by huge I mean like no, like signature. Let's say not. It's
Yeah,
not.
sure.
Yeah, signature falsetto, and like kind of like almost like talk singing, just because he's just, it's very like it's a Jack White song, and like very definitively almost.
And it is a Jack White song because the whole point of the White Stripes is rules of three. Jack is obsessed with Third Man Records. There's three colors. There's red, white, and black. There's three instruments. It's guitar, drums, and vocals, or it's piano, drums, and vocals. So this is a quintessential White Stripes song, even though at the time of release, it sounded nothing like previous White Stripes songs.
Mhm.
Even White Stripes songs with piano. Well, it wasn't piano. It was electric keyboard. You think of
Yeah.
like Apple Blossom off of The Style,
Mhm.
or even St. James Infirmary off the first album. It was a little more of an aggressive. It was a rocky piano. It was a
Yeah, yeah,
rocky
yeah.
keyboard. It had volume to it. It had some oomph, and there's no taking away from this song, but it's just like it is a clean sounding,
Yeah.
elegant piano. They never recorded with a proper piano on in previous White Stripes records or recordings. So once that elephant money started rolling in, and Jack's like, I got this, I could kind of got the freedom to do what I feel like. It's they go out and rent the big Steinway and plop it in his house, and it sounds amazing.
I
But
love that.
it's a bouncy as hell track. It's incredibly fun. The piano is rolling. When we talk about the live life that it has, or the life that the song has live, you kind of learn it. We'll tell you a bit more about
Oh yeah.
the challenges playing it. But this is a song that is so catchy and with such a good chorus. I don't spend the most amount of time listening to the verses. It's just he could be saying whatever he wants in that cadence and in that tone and in that melody, and I'm just gonna be like, yeah, that sounds good to me.
Well, the thing about the song in general is like there's this like, um, you know, there's a guy who's pretty known for only music recently, certainly not any other scandals, but his name is Dave Grohl, and his he has this like funny bit where it's like it's back when like Foo Fighters were doing like YouTube skits. It was like the Fresh Pot stuff and like all the
Sure.
like that era of Dave Grohl, not the cheating on his wife era, but but uh but basically he talks about Aerosmith's Love in an Elevator,
Okay.
and he basically is just like, say, what's the chorus of Love in an Elevator? And the guy's like, I don't know. And he goes, trick question, it's all a chorus. And I kind of feel that way about My Doorbell. Like there's obviously there's obviously the refrain where it says My Doorbell, but like all the melodies are like absolute chorus hooks. Like there's nothing that's actually throwaway in there. And like even the instrumental breaks with the bang gang 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 gang, like that's all like it's all chorusy, you know?
Yeah.
And that's sort of like and that's what I look for in songs. Like I love a big chorus. I love a catchy melody.
Hmm.
Like it's like make me care about things, make me feel something, you know, like one of the things I tell one of my favorite things to say that really annoys musicians, I guess, is that like anyone can write a 5-minute song that no one cares about.
Oh, hell yeah.
And so the fact that like you can carve out these things and like sequence all these like choruses and verses and sections back into each other with the minimal quality that the White Stripes naturally have, it's just a testament to songwriting in my opinion.
It's, I always love the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers line of "Don't bore us, get to the chorus."
Yeah,
and
exactly.
but like you hit the nail on the head. This song, from the second it goes, how long is this mother? It's 4 minutes even. Doesn't feel like that because it's just one long chorus. You have that breakdown, dun, 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 and it builds back up to the chorus.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason why it's so damn catchy.
And touching on, okay, so growing up in the 2000s, playing in bands with people, being a guy who came from a metal background, I have to re-dye my hair. My metal roots are showing, it's one of the things you always heard, and I'm sure you heard it every time you mentioned that the White Stripes are your favorite band, but everyone's like, well, Meg's not a good drummer. And it's like, that's not true. That's like the parts are simple, but My Doorbell is an absolute testament. Like I call it catchy drums.
Sure, yeah.
Where it's just like obviously there's like you can't like play notes or do hooks on them. I'm air drumming right now.
Mm-hmm.
But like even like the fills, like it like the fills and like where she chooses to place the kicks in these instrumental breaks, they are catchy and it's groovy and it's just like whenever I produce records or produce songs for people or like whatever I tell the drummer is the best drum fills are the ones that you can sing. So like if like so
yeah
like, yeah or something like that, and like everything Meg plays is that, right? And if you're listening to this, I apologize. I know you hate being drum spoken to, but sometimes you just gotta not overplay. But Meg White rules, and I think My Doorbell is an absolute standout track for her, showcasing that.
She's playing with you're a little more versed in music in performing music than I am, but she has that like tambourine gimmick on the drumstick. What is that called?
Yeah. I think she's the only person I've ever seen see that, and it's a tambourine on a drumstick.
Like it adds, it's songs like this where I listen to her play and I go, you know what? Like, I absolutely believe that Jack White was like, do not practice, keep that. He said in countless interviews, like, this is the childlike, bombastic approach to drumming is what makes the band special. But when I'm hearing her on songs like this and the addition of that tambourine on the stick, I'm like, man, there's something there. And if the project called for it and it went down that way, like I feel like she's just scratching the surface of what she can do, because it's
Go ahead, you finish.
No, just like there is an understanding of what's good and what works, but like it's incredibly simple. The ideas contradict one another, but I just feel like if she felt like it, she could give her.
I feel like she could bust it out for sure. The tambourine on the drumstick is this interesting gimmick because that basically like, and this is like, yeah, to avoid Mike nerding out about music, please skip ahead 2.5 minutes. But but basically, it basically locks her right hand into basically doing no more than eighth notes, because like if she because usually when you record a tambourine to accompany like a drum part, just like a piece of percussion, you either want to do like just something very, very straight, or you want to do like kind of like a counter rhythm to fill in the gaps, right?
Yeah.
And obviously if you are playing, if your tambourine is attached to your drumsticks, you can't play a counter rhythm on it because like that's what you're playing. So it's just absolutely just accenting. It's just like it's simply like a different tone. It's just like I want it to, whenever I hit the hi-hat, it's gonna hit a tambourine. Like that's all it is. And like I didn't dive into the Jools Holland thing. I dove into a lot of aspects of the Jools Holland performance, and we will get to that because there's a lot to talk about with that. There's for sure tambourines on her right hand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's both sticks. It would be interesting.
Yeah, well, we can look at that performance and confirm. But it's a tremendous song, and when we talk about the life it took on live and outside of the studio, when I listened to it back then, and just it's catchy as hell, but there's so much room on the track that just like everything breathes. Nothing is jammed. It's a 4-minute song. It's all chorus, but it's like it's spread out so that you can take in and you can appreciate and absorb everything. And as the song took like a bit of as it evolved and kind of took on a new life, like you realize like it almost felt like he planned it that way so that you could add different elements. You could improvise with it. You could add extra pieces, make it more complicated or simplify it. Like it's an incredible an example of Jack White's, songwriting and the White Stripes music, in that it's incredibly simple, but just like shine a different light on it. And it's completely unique and different.
Oh yeah. He's one of the greats despite Boarding House Reach for a reason.
Hey, hey, let's not say things that are gonna.
You can edit that out. Actually, no. I know you want him on the pod at some point.
Listen, the underlying goal of this podcast is to have Jack White come on not once but 3 times to talk about 3 mystery songs that not even Mike knows.
I love the idea that like if you only get him on twice, it's still a failure. It's like.
You know how I'm gonna get him back? I'm gonna put the best of the 3 songs at the end, so he can get his flowers.
He has to, yeah, perfect.
Yeah. But I think he'll appreciate that. Like much like our favorite wrestlers, if you don't main event WrestleMania, you're a failure. Jack White, if you don't whatever kooky rules he's put in place, if he doesn't follow them, he's a failure. I think he's gonna respect the 3 mystery song rule.
I mean, to be clear, I love Jack White. I think he's genuinely probably the best guitarist of our generation.
That's very fair, and
I don't think that's a hot take either.
No,
someone's gonna be like, someone in the comments will be like, "Well, what about John Mayer?"
Yeah, I was gonna say John Mayer.
It's like Dead and Co.
Yes, he can noodle, and he sounds really nice, and his $50,000 Stratocaster plays like butter.
Yeah,
cool.
Well,
no
PRS,
knock against John Mayer.
I'll knock John Mayer.
Mike will be back on Patreon to review Boarding House Reach, and I have I got a tale about that one.
Yeah.
Lyrically, this song, it leaves a lot to interpretation, but the narrator is basically saying he's waiting for somebody to ring him up, whether that's waiting for recognition, validation, or approval. Maybe he's waiting for somebody to come back. Failed.
Maybe this is my romantic in me, but I'm pretty sure it's about like you and the person, like maybe it's a partner, maybe it's like a midway fling, maybe it's like a full on like, they've been together forever. But I think it's about like a fight, and like it's about like forgiveness.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, like there's that
take
line
back what you said, little girl, and while you're at it, take yourself back too.
Yeah, maybe the little girl makes it a bit weirder, but like verse 2 is like, nobody's got me waiting in pants up, but how come it's so easy to you? It's like there's stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I like that, and what's great about this is, this is a bouncy, catchy, memorable, like hooky earworm song, and it's super fun and bouncy. And he's singing about his little pissed off that he's got a little filly he's had a rough patch with, and he's looking to to get
Yeah.
things back on the track.
This also kind of executes a songwriting philosophy that I sort of have. Like, to be clear, like I suck shit at lyrics, but one of the
Well, if that's one of your lyrics, then yeah, I get it. Like, come on.
yeah, but basically there's this like songwriting notion that like I think is like I dig, where it's like the verses are for you and the choruses are for everybody, and it's like I dig that.
That's
It's pretty good.
So, man, that is good. That
Yeah, you can have that one for free.
I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna need
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So whenever I think of like these like big huge songs that have like these huge choruses, I'm just like, but what are the verses? That's what they're trying to say, you know?
I like that. I like that
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
In research for this, I was listening to an interview from 2005, and Jack was saying that they actually brought in the engineer or the kind of the producer, their live engineer. He was brought in to like oversee or record or be involved with to kind of better capture the band's sound. It's a real And Justice for All Into the Black album situation.
It's also just like I love the idea of trying to overproduce the White Stripes, you know? It's just like, how about instead of this Fender Blues Junior, we put him into a Fender Deluxe or like something. Guys like, that'll be $8,000. Thank you. I'll invoice you later.
He did it again.
yeah, exactly. He's a genius.
One of the reasons this album sounds so good, I was reading, is that, or it sounds so unique. It sounds incredibly warm and sounds like it was recorded in Sun Studio in 1956. Yeah. I guess, that elephant money helped pay for every mic in the studio, which was Jack's house, was a ribbon mic. And
for sure.
Every
like probably built with like diodes that were mined from the like England in 1912 or something, like I've been to Third Man Records. I know what that vibe is. It's just like
I've also been to Third Man Records.
It's sick. I went to the Nashville location. As you know, I didn't go to the Detroit one, but I did wear a Pucks on Net shirt, RIP, on
RIP.
stage.
Appreciate that. You are also very close to the location of several the recordings of several White Stripes albums and singles, but you didn't make that pilgrimage, but there's always next year.
Yeah, there's always next fall that you can have that one for free, Hotel Mira fans, if you're listening to this.
Let's take a look at the song's legacy, a little segment we call Little Room, Big Impact. That's one of the working titles that is going to stay. We'll see how these goes.
I love the idea of saying it's a working title that we're not going to change. Like I think that's just a title.
There's a couple other ones on this list that they ain't staying around.
Hell yeah. We can workshop them.
So I didn't know a lot about. I like a lot of music. I consume a lot and research a lot about bands and albums. I was never one to read Pitchfork.
Oh, I love Pitchfork,
especially in this era.
Can you tell from my haircut that I love Pitchfork?
I read in prep for another episode. I was reading their review of Elephant, and I thought it was so messed up. I thought somebody hacked the page.
No, that's just how they write.
Yeah, just based on the first paragraph. So
no words under 9 letters.
The one that stuck out was a little shorter than that, but it's I'll send it to you after. Pitchfork, they gave Get Behind Me Satan a 7.3 out of 10, and they had this to say about our track this week. Also exceptional is My Doorbell, a strutting piano soul number that contains the album's most immediately nagging melodic hook over Meg's effectively funky cave woman stomp.
I don't think you're allowed to publish the words funky cave woman in 2025. I was waiting for the spit take. Damn.
An accurate.
It's not wrong.
No. Rolling Stone, they gave the album 4.5 out of 5. They didn't actually mention My Doorbell in the review.
Do you know why?
Why is that?
No guitars. Rolling Stone doesn't give a shit.
It's barely
Like, oh, we can't put this on our top 50 guitar solos of all time. Like, fucking get rid of it.
I'll read the NME review in a moment, but when I was doing all of the research for this and kind of getting an idea of the critical response and the excitement for the record, you know, a handful of, one of the rarest pieces of White Stripes vinyl is the press copy of Get Behind Me Satan. It was only given to a handful of journalists. It was on let's say 10, 15 copies. This thing cost a fortune. So they got
And you have one, I assume.
No, I do not. I have a lot of things in my vinyl cabinet, but I do not have the press copy of Get Behind Me Satan. It's like, let's get this done.
Yeah, we need a song Rolling Stone will like.
But what a hell of a long segue for me to say, or a hell of a diatribe, and went on 50 different roads, that all the excitement about this album was that Jack has weird instruments. It wasn't about the quality of the singles. I'm going and reading these long magazine features on them and NPR reviews, and it's not like, oh my God, like Denial Twist and My Doorbell are incredible, or Blue Orchid is a banger, says Rolling Stone. It was, so you have a marimba. Oh, and Little Ghost has a mandolin, mandolin. Or there's lots of piano. Like, it was just, Jack's being kooky, not there are some very good songs on this very strange record.
You can tell it was like the first, and like looking back at Jack White's legacy now, you can tell like this was the first time that people were kind of like, oh, he might be like actually like generational, or like, like a bit of a like because it's so like, how many, like you there's like a million bands who have come and gone where they're just like, they're a great guitar band, like up until Elephant, it was just kind of like White Stripes are a garage rock band in my perception of them, I should say.
Up until Elephant, it was Hives, Vine, Strokes, White Stripes.
Exactly. White Stripes to Elephant, and it's just like, oh, there's like, there's more ingredients that make this cake now, and then like Jack White segues that into the rest of his career, where like he has he like all his projects that are defined by certain different things, right? And I think Get Behind Me Satan was the first one where he kind of branched out and showcased his ability to potentially walk those roads.
He also really, and we shouldn't say he, like collectively, like the White Stripes really kind of had the freedom, like they were successful enough. Like, obviously they're not going for success, but they're like, a lot of people are coming to buy this album regardless of what it sounds like. And, we don't have to, we can kind of put record company demands or ideals on the back burner, and like, we're going to make the music that we want to make, that I'm inspired by, and it's all going to sound like it was recorded in 1958 in Tennessee somewhere, and that's cool, and the people that dig it will dig it, and we don't have to worry about showing up in Denver and the House of Blues only has like 90 people in it. Like, they're going to show up.
What's wrong with showing up at Denver, the House of Blues, and having 90 people show up?
Enough about the Hotel Mira tour last month.
No, it wasn't the House of Blues, and there was like 750 people. But
yeah,
the joke writes itself.
But
Enemy,
go ahead.
Enemy, yes. Go ahead, Enemy.
Enemy gave the album an 8 out of 10. And said the following: the deeper you get into Get Behind Me Satan, the more the plot thickens. Instead of guitar, it's a pummeling piano that colors the rest of the album. My Doorbell uses the twin percussive attack of piano and drums to create the funkiest tune the White Stripes have ever put their name to. Jack almost ripping the tongue-twisting chorus and adding old-school soul interjections like "Ride It Home, Yeah" to sizzling and salacious effect.
Old school soul interjections like "Ride It Home, Yeah." Pretty funny. Pretty funny sentence. No, it's true. Like I love reading old reviews, because like the pitchfork joke is that like like the whole thing about Pitchfork is that they re-reviewed records. They'll like when records will come out, they'll give them like a 4, and then they'll get really popular and be like, actually, we meant it was a 9. You know, like, and like they did that famous with like Lana Del Rey and shit like that.
Oh man, that's fantastic.
Yeah, my favorite Pitchfork review of all time was the second Jet record, where it's a 0 out of
Aka
10.
the Shaka Khan or whatever it's called.
Whatever, I don't even know the one with I don't even know what's on it, but
Rollover DJ.
yeah, I think that sounds right. But the the review is just a YouTube video of a monkey drinking its own pee. Like, anyways, these reviews are absolutely like, I think it's spot on. Like, I think they nailed it, and I think a lot of it, like, because it's like read through text and you can't really, like, sometimes it's hard to get the emotion. Enemy's British, so they have like a hard time emoting anyways. But like it's like you can tell that the through line here is like White Stripes tried something and they stuck the landing, which is like you like when you read reviews for, like, you know, when you're like you said Hive Strokes finds White Stripes previously, like there's like a nomenclature. It's like, oh, the guitars are dirty and like, you know, like they're very like distorted and blah 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 blah. The words that they're using to describe Get Behind Me Satan or My Doorbell and then subsequently Get Behind Me Satan kind of feel like it's like a new language that they're using to describe these songs. And I think that's what I was drawn to with My Doorbell when I first heard it. Like, legitimately being like, I didn't know you can do this as a band. And that's sick.
And we kind of said like it's a timeless piece of art, a timeless piece of music, and yeah, these are reviews can be worth as much as the paper they're printed on, but there's a bit of a common thread, like, oh, this is like, yeah, this is something special. So we're talking about the impact, Little Room, Big Impact.
Yes.
This song garnered a 2006 Grammy nomination for Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocals.
What a crazy category.
It lost
to My Humps by Black Eyed Peas.
That's correct.
Sorry, I read ahead on the...
Let's talk about this song. It was a big single, and it had a music video.
Did it ever?
And the working title for this segment is Get Behind the Camera, Satan.
Okay.
It's working. It's a working title.
It's a working title. We can workshop.
So
I like Get Behind the Camera, Satan. That's pretty good, actually.
Okay. The working title that's doing its job.
Yeah,
Get Behind the Camera, Satan. The video for this single was directed by the Malloys, who, upon some research, is a pretty notable video producer or video director for music videos. Which, you know, this is a podcast talking about things 20 years ago. Music videos used to be the biggest.
That's never been done before.
Hey guys, nice little nostalgia show.
Yeah.
But you know, music until YouTube came out the following year, like music videos were so damn important, and I'm not going to be an old man and talk about it, but you know, we watched a lot of them.
I'd stay up and wait for music videos to come on. Like, genuinely, it would be like, and like with Much On Demand, if a video that I wanted to see lost, I would be like upset.
I think I saw Evanescence going under about 8,000 times because I would be waiting for Seven Nation Army to come on. Like, it's what we did.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that great. It was the way it was back then. Back in those days, all of this was just fields.
You're telling me, pal. Okay, continue.
It was filmed in black and white, and it features Jack and Meg performing in front of a crowd of children. It was filmed at the Magic Castle in L.A., and the video premiered on August 19th, 2005 on Nickelodeon, following an episode of Unfabulous. There is a White Stripes wiki article that says that it followed an episode of Unfabulous that featured them. I did enough digging. It did not.
I was going to say, this is like Nardwuar almost.
It's wrong. I would have known then, and I would have known now.
Jack White's coffee order was an oat milk latte that day.
Before we go into the video, the Malloys also directed Saint Anger and the Unnamed Feeling music videos.
Oh, the Unnamed Feeling, known music video, Unnamed Feeling.
And
Saint Anger is a great video. It's probably the best part of that entire cycle.
It is a cool video. It's a bit of a retread because they're playing for a prison, but it was cool. I like it.
Yeah.
They also did Rock Show by Blink-182 and Complicated by Avril Lavigne.
Finding out that Rock Show had a director kind of defeats the purpose of it, if you remember. Actually, my fun fact is the Rock Show is the first music video I ever remember watching. I don't know if realistically I probably saw some beforehand, but that was when I was like, oh, I'm turning on Much Music. What's this song? Well, what's this crazy video? And it was Rock Show by Blink-182.
I was always privy to Hell Song.
It's 05. What are you doing?
No,
Rock Show was 01.
Hell Song is 2002. It's off of Does This Look Infected?
That is 02. Yeah, you're right.
And it's all the action figures.
Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne and Ludacris leaving in the chopper.
The Metallica,
I remember it well.
the McFarlane figures. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this video. What are your thoughts on it?
It's a music video. I admittedly, I think with an album called Get Behind Me, Satan, you kind of have to lean into the weird.
Yeah.
You either kind of just become rock and roll and be kind of AC/DC, channel the devil in that sort of way, or you just kind of get weird and artsy. And because it's a piano record and because it's Jack White, and also Jack White and Meg White kind of look like ghosts, it's you kind of lean that direction. I don't know. It's cool. It's a music video.
It's pretty cool. There's a lot of elements of the White Stripes kind of image, and their lore and their gimmick is childlike based. It is
children creep me out, so it's that. I think it's a little unsettling in that way for me, but
I would agree. Lots of kid stuff. They got Candy Cane Children. That unofficial doc that they got bootleg doc was called Nobody Knows How to Talk to Children. I think that's also off of Candy Cane Children. Lots of kid stuff. Meg's drumming is compared to that of a kid getting behind a drum kit for the first time. So I'm fine with that. I didn't like the music video at all. I thought it was too weird. And you remember the episode of The Office where they do Secret Santa and Angela loves the posters of babies doing dressed as grown-ups doing things?
Yeah, that's my mom's favorite genre of movie, talking babies.
So I don't like it. I like that the kids are getting jacked up on sugar and ice cream instead of liquor and whatnot. So I like that. I like that there's a kid up on a step ladder playing a stand-up bass. Kind of alludes to this more elements that could be added to this song. But I didn't care for it. It was, they were doing what they wanted. They were being kooky and weird. And then the show ended. The performance ended. They leave, and all those kids are hanging on to Meg White's the train of her dress. They're 7 kids deep, and Jack they're in the car, and this kid sticks his hand in the car to try to get to the band, and they're driving away, and he's rolling up the window to oh, these guys are evil, shitty performers. They redeem themselves after following this weird video in the last 4 seconds. So
yeah,
I like that. I like the weird shit at the end.
The seminal White Stripes video to me is still Hardest Button to Button. That's just the coolest shit I've ever seen. Like I said off the top, how many drum kits do you own? So
I think it was 32.
That's crazy.
And they donated most of them.
That's crazy that they own it. It's crazy that you could just pull that fact out of nowhere.
Well, maybe you'll be back for Hardest Button to Button episode. Who knows?
Hey man, I'm always down.
But these episodes, we're coming up with these at random, so that could be 2 years from now. But just keep your calendar open.
Oh, it is open. You know me. I'm free unless I'm not.
Let's talk about the life that this song took on live. This song was played 110 times by the White Stripes They had roughly
Only.
600 gigs.
It's crazy. That's actually weirdly low for what I would think.
Yeah, they were pretty. Doing the research for this, I never really clued into it at the time, but they were saying it back then. Like the having only 2 of them perform, and they're working. Jack would always say, like, I'm not playing rhythm guitar behind in Iron Maiden. Like, it's me up there. I'm doing all the work. So the performing and the touring really took its toll on them, and kind of wore them out. So they would only really tour like 3 weeks at a time.
Must be nice.
It must be nice, but also like they were gassed. Like, watch them in under Great White Northern Lights when they're doing the cross Canada tour, and like they are running on fumes in that one.
Oh yeah, touring is wild, to say the least.
They played it 110 times from the first night of the Get Behind Me Satan tour until their final show in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. They wrapped up. They did on Icky Thump. They did a cross Canada tour, which I'll have to do an episode about. Then they did like major arenas and markets, like they played Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we want to go do a tour of like the South because of how important blues music is to them.
Mm-hmm.
My Doorbell was one of the songs Jack and Meg took a unique approach to each night. It had been performed on electric guitar, organ, and even the weird distorted bass that the Gibson hollow body bass that Jack White started bringing out on the Icky Thump tour.
Sick. So sick.
In 2018, deep into Jack's solo career, this is boarding house reach era. No shade, Jack. I love to sing my Doorbell, but I don't like to play the notes, he says, of this Motown-influenced Stripes tune. It's a harsh rhythm. I wish I could play the drums and sing it. I love Meg's drum beat on that song. These days, that beat is played by White's drummer Carla Azar, who used to be in Autolux.
Autolux, they're...
I saw them open for Queens of the Stone Age.
Right, that's
who opened for Nine Inch Nails at the Pacific Coliseum in 2005.
Okay. Right, that name does ring a bell. Who else is in that band? Sorry, I'm just like on the Wikipedia drive right now.
Yeah. These days, the beat is played by White's drummer Carla Azar, whose dense, fast rhythms power White's most innovative material in years. She's really perfect for this tour. She's just completely unafraid to dive right in. So I didn't know that it would be a challenging song to play live, but from your musical ear and experience, like, why is it as challenging as he would outline there if it was just 2 guys playing it?
100%. Yes, the syncopated rhythms of the piano are just absolutely just like you'd have to be like a shit-eating wild man to play it and sing it at the same time. Like we'll get to the Jools Holland performance, which is kind of like the seminal performance for me.
Yeah,
and like I should have said off the top, it's just like that. Watching that live performance changed my life.
Hey,
but
we'll talk about life-changing moments in a second. Finish your talking points.
But like. It's I mean I guess we can segue into the Jools Holland thing. Like if you see how he plays at Jools, if you can imagine trying to sing Jack White's vocal line over top of what Jools is playing, like at the same time, absolutely wild. But we can get into that performance presumably right now. But Jack White is right. Like I would not envy anyone trying to play that live.
I love hearing I don't know, there's just so much romanticizing of music and performing and just live performances, but I really take a keen interest in like the physical toll and that it has on an artist. Like I think it's something just that's completely overlooked, and then you realize like. Or I always remember the first time I kind of realized that was watching AC/DC play Coachella, and Phil Rudd is playing Jailbreak or Let There Be Rock, and he's doing these like 8 or 16 notes for like seemingly 15 minutes.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm like, what does that do to your forearms, your core? Like, good God.
Well, there's famously, I think it's Tommy Lee wears like a step counter.
Yeah.
Every show. and he at the end of every show he has run the or moved the equivalent of running 6 kilometers or something like that.
It would probably be more, man. Like if you think about everything that, and he needs something else. Thinking about just the cardio toll, the bright lights, and all that shit. I don't envy them, and it just putting into that perspective, the challenges with touring as just a duo makes so much sense.
Well, yeah, that's the thing about touring that a lot of people don't really think of off the top of their head. I can obviously only speak to I've toured with other bands, but Hotel Mira is who I've mainly toured with, and we put on a pretty active live show.
Absolutely.
Right, and for most people, they see that show once or twice a year, and but for us that's every night, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just we're sore and we're tired, but we have to turn it on for an hour at a night, which is great. We obviously love what we do, but it's just when it's oh yeah, just being on stage and having to just perform and play a show that's so memorable to people. We did something crazy. We had 90 shows last year, and already we've already done 26 shows in 2025.
Oh man.
And it's good quarter one, but but it's and a lot of those people will only see us once, right? So it's just oh yeah, Hotel Mira put on a really good show. But if we didn't put on a good show that night, they would be oh, this band was okay, So you just have to do that, and you just keep going and going, and it is a physical thing, and our songs are pretty fast and but it's a lot of fun, which is why we keep doing it. But there is
and the chicks are great.
Pardon me?
And the chicks are great. That's my Almost Famous reference.
Oh, I was I don't know what you're talking about. I play indie rock. But yeah, no, it's it is touring is not for the faint of heart. But and touring as a duo, when it's only them two, at least I can hide behind Charlie,
Yeah. he can put the work in.
And does he ever? But it's I don't know. That's crazy. And now it's Jack White playing with a fucking 11 piece. It's yeah, I get it.
No, he's doing just a stripped down show, and he's just playing with a bass and a keyboard and a drum. So
that's
he's
sick.
Still working.
Yeah. Okay.
So what really drew me, what got me excited about this conversation is that we're both stoked on the same thing. Yeah. And I genuinely have been preaching this performance for decades. I kept when I had the indie channel, or it was the hi-fi channel, they had old episodes of Jools Holland on. Yeah. And this I had to keep this PVR because it was on there. It didn't exist anywhere else. And it was just monumentally special to me. It's 2007. I say this off the top of the show, but we'll repeat it. It's 2007. The White Stripes are in the UK. They're promoting Icky Thump, which is about to come out. They're performing on Jools Holland, later with Jools Holland, which is, no questions asked, the best live music performance format show ever made.
I completely agree.
I love it to death. It just makes every performance so special, and the dynamic of being in the round and cutting to other artists watching, I love it to death.
I would watch it every week, no joke, every week for fucking 3 to 7 years. I would be who was on this week, and I would seek out the performances I wanted to, and the My Doorbell performance on Jools Holland. I know it's you might disagree with me because you have deeper takes than I do on the White Stripes, but I think it is the definitive White Stripes performance for me. In terms of a live, you have your it's their fucking Everlong on Letterman, that sort of thing for me.
I don't disagree with you.
I was expecting you to be night 3 of the Bowery Ballroom, and
Well, based on what I remember, 2003 at Metropolis in Montreal was regarded as one of the greatest White Stripes concerts ever. But I digress.
Yes. That's
if
what I was
I'm thinking of captured performances,
Yeah.
no, like I love Under Blackpool Lights, but it's it's an art film that's also a music, that's a concert. Under Great White Northern Lights is quite good. In terms of if you want on video like a performance that defines the White Stripes, it comes down to Seven Nation Army and Death Letter at the 2004 Grammys when they were up for Album of the Year.
That one is good. Yeah,
It
yeah.
blew my mind.
The Seven Nation Army one, because he's hitting the whammy pedal, and I was like, oh yeah.
And he's
that's
just
sick.
like, all of a sudden you think he's going into the second verse, and all of a sudden it's Death Letter.
Yeah, yeah.
They're playing a Distill track to a worldwide audience. But I think it's secondary to this performance, and you're gonna go, what? But there was another guy up there, and it's different. Like, it doesn't matter. It showcases so much. Like, what I loved about is, we're talking about My Doorbell. I was like, there's so much room on a very busy, exciting. It's a lively song, but there's so much room and space in it to expand it. And Jools does that with licks. He's playing the piano part, but he's also up on the electric organ. You've got Jack playing that bass, which sounds fantastic, except when he turns it into the muff, and then he's like, I'm gonna leave this thing off from now.
No, he I mean, he can do what he wants, but
Sure.
it's just like, the thing is, Jack White, if you're listening to this, I don't know how much you know I don't know how much you know about pedals, but with traditionally, if you're using a non-bass driven fuzz, you should run it in parallel. So because usually it won't cut out the bass frequencies, you can have the clean signal going through. That's how I use my fuzz.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so that was just my joke about what basically what happened. He's obviously running like a guitar fuzz pedal. Obviously, it's also Jack White. He knows what he's doing. But it doesn't sound. It probably sounded great in the room, but like through TV mics and stuff like that, it probably didn't leave a bit to be desired. But this, I cannot stress how good this performance is, because it's so good, because and it's almost a testament to how good of a song My Doorbell is, because I'm going to guide you through this journey, and you're going to have to bear with me here.
Yep.
Because I have so much to talk about with it. Not so much. I know we're over an hour. I'm not going to rant forever. But it's like the performance, and hear me out. I'm going to say a phrase, and you're going to be like, what? Why? And I'll be like, I'll explain, Ryan. Don't worry. The performance is kind of a beautiful mess.
Yeah, it is.
Like, in a way of like Meg White's all over the place in a way that she famously does, but Jack, I don't think Jools Holland rehearsed this song. If you actually really listen to it, there's some shots and chord changes he misses. He is playing so he has this Wurlitzer piano, which is like an electric piano, and on the piano there's a mirror.
Yep.
That's looking back, clearly, he's looking at the mirror, and you can see it the entire time. His head's on his shoulder. I have a keyboard. I'm gonna pull this down. So I actually, this is my music production office. So I have a keyboard just here.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So when I'm not actually doing air piano. I'm actually really playing it. Yeah, video subscribers will know what I just did. But basically, he's playing it, and he's looking back. He's looking back over his shoulder for the changes and to keep up with tempo. And then it shows a shot of a mirror on his piano. So he's not actually looking back. He's looking in the mirror. And the mirror is pointed directly at what Jack White and Meg White are doing. Why he wouldn't just turn the piano around so he's facing them in his performance is an entire other conversation.
So why I love that aspect of the performance is that mirror had been on the electric piano and the organ or whatever since as long, probably White Blood Cells, probably before that. Right. Jack put that.
I didn't know that.
So Jack put that there so he could look at Meg. And
right. Okay.
So the whole thing about the White Stripes is we're intentionally making it difficult. In reality, that keyboard should be turned around. It's facing Meg. It's facing the crowd in some way, but he on purpose made it difficult. Mm-hmm. So I love that. Like, I've heard this for years at this point, watching this performance, but I like to make it difficult. Okay, yeah, big deal, whatever. You're watching somebody else. You're watching an outsider get on their gear,
enter the world,
the realm, and have to keep up with them. And so he's working so hard to play that and he's crushing it. But he's just
shredding, dude. He's fucking crushing it. Like so jazzy, just like I was like, hell yeah, Jools.
I love it, and so that's what makes that performance so special to me. Is I couldn't tell you. Like, I love your theory that he's looking at the wrong thing in the mirror, but unless that mirror moved, it could have moved, but normally that mirror is there for Jack to make eye contact with Meg. But like, Jack's also 6'4", and Jools is tiny, so he's probably looking at himself.
I don't think he was looking at the wrong thing. I think he was just kind of being like, oh shit, I'm swimming with the sharks now, Mm-hmm. But like the performance, like I say, it's a beautiful disaster because it's an amazing performance. Yeah, but it's also just like if I played like something like that, and I'm I'm always my harshest critic. Like, I would leave the stage being like, I fucking bombed. Like, that was so bad. And then I'd go, and then I would never go back and rewatch it because I'd be like, that's embarrassing. But then because it's Jools Holland, they have to go back and rewatch it. And I'd if that were the case, I'd be convinced to be like, well, no, that was incredible. But also, it's just like, that's just the vibe. And like, I didn't know fucking Jools Holland could shred like that. He's so good. Yeah. Was he in? He must have been in a band, and there's like this one random cut where like it cuts to like the singer of Silver Sun Pickups for like a split second or whatever, because I guess they're promoting. Yeah, he's like, whoa, hold on, band leader. He was Jools Holland was in Squeeze.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know who that is.
No, neither do I. I was thinking
UK singles Cool for Cats.
Hey, I'm cool for Jools.
Cool, yeah, fuck yeah, that's pretty good.
But it was a beautiful mess, or whatever you want to call it, just because, White Stripes performances are not 100% perfect. There are those slip ups, those, slightly on purpose, gaffes here or there, but it doesn't make it a bad performance. It just shows like, oh, they're not faking it. Like, this is legit. There's no net.
Here's how I would put it. When we started this podcast, I was saying like the reason My Doorbell was drawn to me was because I had defined the White Stripes as this like gritty guitar rock, like sick riffs, like attitude, just fucking kick on the distortion pedal, strum some chords, like that sort of energy. And the pivot to My Doorbell was like, it's cleaner. It's a piano. It's like they're doing the thing. This performance was, oh no, they still fucking rock. It's like it doesn't matter if they're playing their piano song. This is a definitive rock and roll band, and to me, young me, I'm learning. Oh, rock isn't about distorted guitars. It's about attitude. Absolutely. And that is what is captured so perfectly in this Jools Holland performance.
Mike, I think that is a perfect way to wrap up this conversation. We've come full circle.
Hell, have we ever?
I absolutely love that we can spend over an hour talking about one specific song and the impact it's had.
This was just the first time it was recorded.
But I appreciate you so much for coming on.
Oh, dude, thanks for being flexible with the schedule as well.
Hey, a guy's got to do what a guy's got to do, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But Hotel Mira is home and recuperating from the road for now.
For now, doing a lot of heavy lifting. We're going to be out sooner than you think, I think.
Hell yeah.
I know, but I can't say anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I can leak it. Yeah, I'll do an exclusive. We're playing a festival in Denmark next month in May. When's this coming out?
Pretty soon.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So if you're a Hotel Mira fan in Denmark and you've made it to the end of this hour-long recording session talking about
My Doorbell,
you will know that we're playing a festival in Denmark, even though we're also announcing it next week. I don't know.
If you heard it on this podcast, go up to Mike and we'll take,
Yeah.
you'll,
They'll be like, "Oh, danke for the leak."
and you're just
Danke,
like,
that's how
rock and
that's how
roll,
they say-
baby.
I think that's how they say thanks in Denmark. I'll be like, hell yeah.
Hotel Mira's latest album, Pity Party, is fantastic. It's getting a lot of streams based out of this home alone.
Hell yeah.
Don't make me tell you my favorite songs.
What is it?
It's I love America's Favorite Pastime. I also love Making Progress into Runner. Those are 3 really good songs. Mike's a dear friend. He's a part of a fantastic band, and he's spent a long time here on the Hardest Podcast podcast.
Hell yeah.
All right. That was my Doorbell. That was Hotel Mira's Mike Noble. And that was a really great conversation. And I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I want to hear from you. Send a DM on Instagram or Blue Sky, or send an email to hardestpodtopod@gmail.com. And how about one more cup of coffee before I go? That's right. If you want to support this show, you can head to buymeacoffee.com/hardestpodtopod. And we'll be back next week. And I bet you're wondering what song we're going to do next week. And let me just say this. I know what it is. You don't, but I do. But next week, we'll all know. The Hardest Podcast to Podcast is hosted and produced by Ryan Schapp. Artwork by Caitlin Likely. Amanda Schultz is our intern.